What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about the buy low and sell high players in 2025 fantasy hockey. Right now is the perfect time to capitalize on the players that are underperforming and trade away the players that are overperforming. So we're going to give you guys my favorite targets and trades, my favorite sell highs, maybe give you guys some suggestions on certain players. So let's dive right into it. The first player we got to talk about here is Connor McDavid. He has 7 points in 6 games, which is okay, but it's not up to the level of standard that we expect with McDavid. And the problem is that all of these points are assists. He has 0 goals in these 6 games. And I think this might be the first time this has ever happened in his NHL career. It is generally very hard to trade for McDavid, but now is the time to do it if you can. I think if you can trade Eichel for McDavid, you would win that trade. If you can do some sort of package, maybe a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 with McDavid, that could definitely work out in your favor. I typically love doing those trades because you can replace some guys on the wire and just get value in general. So if you can make something work, I definitely suggest you do it. We might as well talk about Evan Bouchard as well here. 0 points through 6 games, also a -5. He's definitely not looked the best out there. He's made some lapses in judgment on the defensive end of things, and this Oilers power play hasn't been clicking. So yeah, I think even though Bouchard might not get back to being a point per game player like he was in 23-24, you are still potentially getting a big discount on him in a trade, and he, in my opinion, is still a top 5 fantasy hockey defenseman. So I would definitely target him in a trade. I like Jake Sanderson a lot, but can you trade Sanderson for Bouchard 1-for-1? I would do that if I was in that situation. I think Bouchard should be better for the rest of the year. So that's one trade that comes to mind. You guys might also want to trade a forward for Evan Bouchard. Maybe you could offload Mark Scheifele, who's a pure center, such a deep position value that you can find on the wire. Maybe you could trade him for Bouchard. Maybe Dylan Larkin, maybe Nick Suzuki, maybe Matthew Nyes. Some of these guys that are putting up a lot of points early. Maybe you could do a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 package. It depends on how serious your league is. If there's any casual league mates, maybe you could take advantage of this. Package off some really high-performing guys like Nick Schmaltz, Shane Pinto, or Frank Nazar. Probably not. That's unlikely to happen unless your league mates are very stupid, but try to get creative with this. I think trading for Bouchard is a good idea, and I think you're going to win in the long run, depending on who you trade away. Another buy low I would definitely take a look at is J.T. Miller. He has 4 points in 7 games. Not the greatest. We expect him to be a point per game player, obviously very early, and because of this, you might be able to get a discount on him in a trade. The case for J.T. Miller is very simple. He had an injury during camp, so that could be a reason for his sluggish start. He's going to be in a top 5 or top 10 power play, in my opinion, surrounded by some really good players. The only thing I don't love right now is because of this Tkachuk injury, his line mates are not the best. I was really excited to see Zibanejad on the wing on Miller's line with Will Cooley, but they've had to break things up and switch things up because of this Tkachuk injury. So maybe in the meantime, for the next couple of weeks while Tkachuk is out, he might not perform to the expectation that we have of him. But I think down the stretch, in the long run, when Zib reunites with J.T. Miller, I think that's going to be great. And I think Miller is going to be very solid. It's also worth mentioning that if you're in a league that values hits, he has a massive edge against a lot of players. So if you're in a points league with hits or you're in a category league, he has that safe floor baked in. And I would definitely take a look at him even more in those type of leagues. I also want to mention Filip Forsberg here. To be honest, I am not the biggest fan of him. I didn't really draft him a lot this year in any of my 200 fantasy hockey teams that I drafted, the best ball teams. I'll be talking about that soon. I'll be showing my exposures for that. But even though I'm not the biggest fan, we do have to recognize that he only has 1 goal in 6 games and only 3 points, which obviously is a 82 game pace of 41 points, and that is not sustainable. I'm not expecting Forsberg to go back to being a 90-point player just with this team right now. A lot of older, aging players, not the strongest roster, but I do think he's still good for 70 to 80 points, 30 to 35 goals, a ton of shots, and also a good amount of hits as well if your league counts those. So if you can get a deal for him, don't overpay. If you can get a decent deal, I think it should work out. The next buy low player is Mikhail Sergachev of the Utah Mammoth. He currently has 0 points in 5 games. As I'm recording this, he's playing Boston though, so maybe he has a big night and you won't be able to get a discount on him anymore. But regardless, right now, he is completely underperforming, and I think he's a great buy low target. The case for Sergachev is very simple. He is on this rising Utah Mammoth team. gets a lot of ice time, 25 minutes a night, top pairing guy on this power play one, a power play that was 10th best in the NHL last year. Yes, this power play has struggled to start the year, but it is so early on. I think Sergachev is still going to be a, 10 goal, 45 to 50 point defenseman, maybe even room for more. And defensemen on power play one getting that type of ice time are hard to come by. So if you can get a good deal for him, I highly suggest that you do it. Sergachev also puts up good hits and blocks if your league counts those, so that's another thing to consider depending on your league format. But to give you guys some examples of my defensemen, I would trade Zibanejad for Mikhail Sergachev 1-for-1. I would trade J.T Miller. I would trade John Carlson. I would consider trading Vince Dunn, Jacob Chikrin as well. I could go on. Obviously, you could trade a forward for him as well. I'm going to talk about some sell-high players later in this video, but yeah, I think Sergachev is a great buy low. Next up, let's talk about my boy, Mika Zibanejad. He has 3 points in 7 games. Yes, he's coming off a multi-point night against the Canadiens, so maybe the discount that you're getting on him is not the same as it was before, but 3 points in 7 games is still underperforming, and you might be able to get a very good deal on Mika Zibanejad. If you guys have watched the channel leading up to the season, you guys know Zibanejad was my favorite target heading into this fantasy hockey year, just because his ADP was so disrespectful. He was going so late on so many platforms, and I still am a big believer in Mika Zibanejad. I've watched a ton of Rangers games. He has looked the best that he has looked in a number of years. He's playing a 200-foot game, looks engaged offensively, defensively. Skating's good. His shot looks like it's returned to form. If you guys saw him rip that one-timer on the power play. And yeah, I still think Zibanejad is going to be a 75-point player this year. I really do believe that. So if you can get a good deal on a player that is underperforming to start the season, I think you should do it. If you guys have watched the Rangers this season, you know that they've been outplaying teams but still losing. They are getting super unlucky. They're at the top of the NHL in terms of expected goals. Their 5v5 production, their 5v5 goal share. There's a lot of things that you can look at that suggest that the Rangers are actually playing elite, but just not putting the puck in the net. They're not finishing. And you could see that with a lot of Rangers players in terms of their shooting percentages. They are putting pucks on net. They're getting good chances, but puck luck has not gone their way. So I think it's going to swing their way very soon, and Zibanejad is going to be a part of that. We also know that J.T Miller got injured during camp, so he's been slow to start. Panarin was injured, so he's been slow to start. That can contribute, obviously, because Mika Zibanejad is playing with those guys. I think he's going to be on a team that's going to have a really good power play, playing with elite line mates. Obviously, I don't love the Vincent Trocheck injury. That has kind of made me disappointed because I was really excited to see Zibanejad on the wing with J.T Miller, because I think Zibanejad is blossoming on the wing. So yeah, with his Trocheck injury, they have him back to center, but listen, he's still playing with Panarin even strength, which is awesome. He looked good in that Montreal game at center, so I think he's going to be fine. Trocheck will come back, and hopefully he'll go back to the wing with Miller. And yeah, like I said, I think Zibanejad's still going to score 30-plus goals, 75 points, and he's a great buy low. Another buy low is Josh Morrissey, only 1 point in 5 games, that being an assist. I don't have too much to say about Josh Morrissey. I think he's very solid. I think he's still good for 50 to 60 points, maybe even room for more. And I just think this is bad puck luck because the Jets are still a great team. They still have a lot of great offensive pieces. Their power play should still be solid. So yeah, I think Morrissey is a solid buy low. He's one of those guys where you don't have to worry about a potential losing of power play one. That is not going to happen with Morrissey. He's locked into a top pairing power play one role. We've seen him be very consistent in the last 3 years as a 60-plus point player, even putting up more than that a couple of years ago. He had 76 points. So this is a great buy low. Very solid peripherals too. And one thing to note as well is that I think what may have affected, or what is affecting Josh Morrissey currently, is this Dylan Sandberg injury. With Sandberg being out, I think this is affecting matchups more than people expect. He will be back in, I think, 5 to 6 weeks, maybe even a little bit more. He broke his wrist. So that could be contributing to a slow start. So again, I am not worried about Morrissey. I think he's going to be solid all year. He's a great buy low defenseman. I'm a massive fan of Morgan Riley, one of my most drafted defensemen this year, but trading him for Morrissey, that might not be a bad idea. Obviously, there's some other guys, like I mentioned earlier, Vince Dunn. If you can trade him for Morrissey, that would be good. Even a guy like Zibanejad or Matthew Scheifele, these young defensemen who are less proven than Josh Morrissey, I would absolutely trade those guys 1-for-1 for Josh Morrissey. Overall, try to get creative, and hopefully you can get a good deal for Josh Morrissey. Next up, let's talk about another defenseman, that guy being Jackson Lacombe of the Anaheim Ducks. He currently has 0 points in 4 games. I get it. But if you watched him out there, he still looks really good. and he is currently getting very unlucky. He's been on the ice for a bunch of Ducks goals, but he's getting like the third assist for these goals, so he's not showing up on the score sheet, but don't worry, those points are going to come very soon. Everything's looking good with Lacombe, getting 25 minutes a night, 3 more minutes than last season, a year that he put up 43 points in. And in terms of power play time, he's getting elite power play ice time share. 4 minutes and 14 seconds of power play time per game, a 69.6% power play time and ice share. As long as he's getting this deployment with this Ducks team that actually looks decent, the points will come, guys. There's no question about it. I'm a big fan. He's one of my favorite guys. And also peripherals. He puts up, the shots haven't been there, but he puts up really good hits and blocks. The shots will be there eventually as well. So yeah, there's just a lot to like about Lacombe. I'm sure he's getting dropped in some leagues with impatient managers. So take advantage of this slow start and trade for Jackson Lacombe. Next up, let's talk about one that is one of my favorite buy lows. That guy being Nikolaj Ehlers of the Carolina Hurricanes. Listen, I get it. Jarvis and Aho popping off and Ehlers having 0 points through 5 games is pretty insane to see, but we have to look at the facts, okay? Currently, he is averaging the highest ice time of his career with 17 minutes and 31 seconds of ice time per game. He has not been demoted, unlike Svechnikov. He is still on that top line with elite players, Aho and Jarvis, and he is still on power play 1, a power play 1 that should be good. It's just not producing, guys. I get there's some concerns about it, but the power play points will come. The even strength deployment is there, and also he's shooting the puck. Look at his shots, guys. 18 shots in 5 games. That is pretty darn good. To me, this is just bad puck luck. I've watched a few Canes games. He looks good out there. He looks engaged. He looks speedy. That top line, it might take some time to click, I suppose, all 3 of those guys together, but I still think Ehlers has the opportunity to put up 70 points, and I would be buying low on Ehlers all day long. In terms of some players you might want to trade away for Nikolaj Ehlers, maybe trade away a guy like Nick Schmaltz. He is absolutely overperforming. A guy like Shane Pinto, a guy like Frank Nazar. Those are some players that come to mind. Even a guy like Bo Horvat. Depends on your league, but this is more about positional eligibility. Horvat being a pure center, that might not be a bad trade. A guy like Alexi Protas, I would definitely take a look at in terms of trading him away for Ehlers. Maybe a guy like Ivan Barbashev or Leo Carlson or Teuvo Teravainen. Some of these guys that are point per game, over point per game that are overperforming. You want to trade those type of players away for a guy like Ehlers. Let's go a little bit more rapid fire here. Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues. Only 2 points in 5 games. I'm not saying Robert Thomas is going to put up 90 points or anything like that, but he's a guy that's a consistent point per game player. This Blues team has just struggled a bit, but he should get back to that. So you might be able to get a discount on him. Another guy is Travis Konecny. Only 2 points in 5 games, no goals. Ice time is down a little bit from the year prior, but I still think he's a solid 60 to 70 point player, maybe even room for more. He's still a line 1 power play 1 guy, so see if you can get a deal, see if you can get a discount. It's all about discounts, guys. It's about getting value here. Also, another player is Dylan Holloway. He only has 1 point in 5 games. He's a -4, but what I love about what he's doing is that his shot volume is decent and his ice time is amazing. 19 minutes and 15 seconds of ice time per game, guys. He only averaged 16 minutes and 49 seconds the year prior, and he still put up 63 points in 77 games. We also know that recently they moved him up to line 1 with Robert Thomas and also power play 1 as well. They stacked that power play 1 up with all those top guys. Again, things are very fluid. Deployment can change. But regardless, that's a huge upside case if they stick with him playing with a guy like Robert Thomas and they stop the 1A, 1B BS that they do with the power play. There's upside there. And even if they don't continue with that deployment, he's still getting elite ice time. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Holloway. His shot volume is solid. If your league values hits, that's another big thing, guys. Please take a look at Holloway even more if you're in a league with hits, in a points league with hits, in a category league with hits. He is a monster with filling those cats. So yeah, massive fan, big buy low. We also can talk about Brandon Hagel here. I think he's a pretty solid buy low candidate. Wasn't the biggest fan of him going into the year because I think he was going a little bit too high with impending regression, but only 1 point in 6 games and no goals means that he is a great buy low. I still think Hagel can put up 80 points. I think that's within the realm of possibilities. He might be a 70 to 75 point guy, but that's still solid. You might be able to get a good deal for him. He puts up good peripherals as well. The shot volume's there, 15 shots in 6 games. The ice time is obviously there, 20 minutes and 14 seconds of ice time per game. So yeah, if you can get a discount on Brandon Hagel in a bunch of leagues, a bunch of league formats, I should say, then I think that's a smart play. Let's do the rest here. Brian Rust has 2 points in 4 games, no goals. Maybe you can get a discount on him. He's good for like 60, 65 points, 30 goals potentially, good shots, okay hits. So yeah, I think he's solid. Also, Sam Bennett, only 1 point in 7 games. Maybe if you're in a league with plus minus, then maybe not, but I still think he is a guy that can put up 25 to 30 goals, maybe, 50 to 60 points, maybe 65 points, elite shot volume, really good hits. This is mostly for leagues with hits. If your league values hits, like a points league that added that, or in a category league with hits, then I think this is definitely a smart buy low. The deployment's there. Tkachuk is going to return eventually, who could be playing on a line with Sam Bennett. And yeah, I just think that you could get a pretty good discount on him at the current moment. I also want to mention Dougie Hamilton. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of him because I think Luke is going to end up on that power play 1 permanently at some point. But basically what we're seeing right now is Sheldon Keefe is going back and forth with Luke and Meyer on power play 1, and then Dougie and Dawson Mercer. He basically said they're going to change power play 1 based on the opponent's penalty kill. I don't love that for either of them, but I do think right now, only 1 point in 5 games. Defensemen are hard to come by that get power play 1 time, especially on a power play like New Jersey. And Hamilton is still a guy that can put up 200 plus shots. So yeah, I think if you get a discount on Hamilton, it could be worth it. I guess I'll mention Logan Cooley as well. Only 2 points in 5 games. I don't know if he's going to hold power play 1. That is a concern of mine, but maybe that's solid. You also might want to buy low on Uri Slafkovsky. More so if you're in a league with hits, because that's sort of his bread and butter as well. Still getting a lot of ice time. Still in line 1. Still in power play 1. So that could be good. I also want to mention Matvei Michkov here. Obviously, there are some pretty big concerns with the constant benching from Rick Tocchet, basically reports of him showing up to camp out of shape. There are some, talks about him having an ankle injury in the offseason, which may have led to this. So maybe he's just starting slow and he'll pick it up, right? I don't know, guys. I just think there is concern there. But what he's doing right now is obviously not sustainable. So maybe if you're in a deeper league where it's hard to find value on the wire, like a 12-team league, and you can get a discount on a guy who was absolutely incredible down the stretch last season, I would definitely try to do it. He has a lot of talent. He has a lot of skill, but we have to see him get the deployment. So yeah, he's a buy low, but he's not one of my favorite buy lows. Another guy in a deeper league is Sean Monahan, 0 points in 5 games. This one is like a very obvious unlucky type player. Like there's no way this is sustainable. He was an over point per game player last season. Not saying that's going to happen again, but if you're actually looking at the advanced stats here, the Ronkov, Marchenko, Monahan line has been one of the best lines in the NHL. He's a +5, so he's just getting some bad puck luck. The points are going to come. Marchenko is one of my favorite players. He's going to have a big year, and Monahan's staple to his line. So yeah, in a deeper league, I know he's a pure center on some platforms. I know there's a lot of value on the wire there, but in a deeper league, like 12 teams or more, absolutely trade for Sean Monahan. Another guy I like is Alexis Lafreniere, only 2 points in 7 games. The Rangers, like I said in this video, a lot of advanced stats point to them being unlucky. They've been very good 5v5, a lot of scoring chances, just some bad puck luck here. And he's currently in the top 6 and on power play 1. If he holds power play 1 all season long, when Trocheck comes back, then there's a lot of upside for him. So yeah, I think in a deeper league, like I said with Monahan, like 14 teams or more, he's definitely a guy you want to take a look at. Also in a deeper league, Cam Fowler is a good option. Only 1 point in 5 games. He's still quarterbacking that power play 1, a power play 1 that they just decided to stack in terms of having all those top players on there. I talked about him being a regression candidate because he overperformed on the Blues, but I still think he's good for like 40 points. Not the best peripheral, so it depends on your league size, but yeah, I think in a deeper league where defensemen are hard to come by, he could be a good buy low. I'll also mention that if you're in like a bangers league or a league that heavily values hits or peripherals, Will Cooley is a solid option. He seems to be a lock in this top 6, and he's a guy that puts up monster hits. I think the points will come. So yeah, I think he's good. Now, in terms of another player I'm not really too sure about is Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. I think the big thing that I really don't like is that he's still not shooting the puck. Right? Like last year, it's the same thing. He's barely a shot per game. Unless that changes, I'm not interested. So yeah, even though I think he's going to have a better year than last year, he needs to start shooting the puck. Also, in terms of some players, I'm really not too interested in buying on. Andrei Svechnikov. I mean, what are we doing here with this deployment? 4th line. $8 million per year, Rod. I hope his agent is calling the GM and requesting a trade. This is ridiculous. Also off power play 1. Yes, I think he could get back in the top 6. Yes, I think he could get back on power play 1, but as of right now, I am not a fan of trading for him. I think there's too much risk involved. Carter Verhaeghe, I'm really not a fan. I stopped drafting Verhaeghe once Barkov went down because that was a big case for Verhaeghe just being on a line with Barkov. He's not even getting good deployment with Barkov and Tkachuk injured. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it's too bad. I have a good amount of Verhaeghe on my best ball teams because I was drafting him before this Barkov injury, but yeah, it really hurt him. I will say that I do expect him to still be a 50 to 60 point player with good shots, but I don't think he's going to have that upside that he used to have. So unless you're getting a really, really good deal on him, I wouldn't do it. Another guy I'm not a fan of buying low on is Mackenzie Weegar. I understand the shots, hits, and blocks are great, but Calgary looks terrible. I think Zane Prek is going to eventually take over power play 1, and that's going to leave him not being very good. So yeah, just with the risk involved with Prek and the fact that he has not looked good and the Flames have not looked good, I'm not a fan. I also want to mention that I'm not a big fan of buying low on Steven Stamkos. Listen, he could be okay, but I don't think he's going to put up more than 65 points. He's kind of a power play merchant at this point. An aging roster in Nashville. He's 35, 36 years old. I think he's all right, but I just wouldn't be interested in buying low on him unless I'm getting a really good deal. I also want to say that I wouldn't buy low on Seth Jones. With all these injuries, his upside is certainly capped. They're running a 1A, 1B power play now. So yeah, I mean, this Barkov injury was pretty devastating to this team. Maybe down the stretch he can bounce back, but right now I'm not a fan. All right, let's talk about some sell highs real quick. I've already talked about a few in this video when I was just talking about some of these buy lows. I guess we should start off with some of the guys that are producing like crazy. Some of them I'm a big fan of. Like I love Jack Eichel. Drafted a good amount of him this year. Looks incredible out there. This Vegas power play is unstoppable. But like I said when I was talking about McDavid is if you can trade Jack Eichel for McDavid, I would. That isn't to say that you should be looking to trade away Jack Eichel, but you definitely want to look to take advantage of some of these guys that are putting up insane numbers that are clearly inflated. You could also say the same with Dylan Larkin. Big fan of him. He's one of my most drafted players on Drafters, but 11 points in 6 games is not sustainable. So if you want to capitalize on that, you definitely should. William Nylander, 11 points in 6 games. Is Nylander still great in fantasy? Yes, but this is obviously unsustainable. So try to capitalize on it. Same thing with Mark Scheifele, who has like a 40% shooting percentage, 6 goals in 5 games and 9 points. If you can make a deal and get better value, that's what you want to do. I also want to mention Tom Wilson here, 9 points in 6 games. I understand in certain leagues with hits, then you might want to keep him. I don't blame you because he is a fantasy unicorn in that regard. But if your league does not count hits, he is way overperforming. So definitely a sell high. The most obvious sell high though is Shane Pinto. There's no question about it. What's his shooting percentage, guys? Like 50%. He's not even power play 1 right now. They have Ridley Greig on there. He could be third line the entire season. Yeah, just completely unsustainable numbers. I like Pinto as a player, but if you could fool a casual league mate and get some value for Shane Pinto, you need to do it. In terms of some other players that are popping out here, Evgeny Malkin, 9 points in 6 games. He did this last season as well at the start of the year, and then he cooled down completely because it's still like 40-year-old Evgeny Malkin on a bad Pittsburgh Penguins team. I guess his Penguins team isn't horrible, but yeah, it's a clear sell high. Also, Dylan Strome, I guess regression is not hitting this Capitals team. I don't know, guys. Maybe I was wrong about that, but 8 points in 6 games. I still think that he is only a 70-point guy with not the best peripherals. So if you can sell high in him right now when he's putting up over point per game, I definitely would. I also think Matthew Knies is a sell high, 8 points in 6 games. I love his deployment and I think he's solid, but I still think he's a 60 to 65 point player. I think there's better players in him that you're going to be able to trade for in exchange for him. So yeah, I would definitely take a look at that. For example, if I can swindle a Matthew Knies for Filip Forsberg trade, I'm doing that all day long. If I could trade away Matthew Knies for Brady Tkachuk, who's injured, for a desperate league mate who could be a Leafs fan, I would do that as well. Maybe try to package Matthew Knies for J.T. Miller. That's a great trade. Maybe try to get a defenseman like Evan Bouchard in some sort of package. I would try to do that. You also got to talk about a very obvious sell high here. Nick Schmaltz. Yes, I always have thought he has been underrated just because he's been good for like 60 to 70 points in the last couple of years. Lionel McKellar, power play 1, but he is overperforming and you're going to be able to potentially get some really good value for him. So yeah, I would definitely look at a guy like Nikolaj Ehlers for Nick Schmaltz straight up. Maybe some of those defensemen that I talked about, Jackson Lacombe, Josh Morrissey, maybe you can include Schmaltz in some sort of package for him. You could definitely get creative with a player like Nick Schmaltz. I also think if you can trade Nick Schmaltz for Mika Zibanejad 1-for-1, you are smashing that deal. You are completely winning that deal. So yeah, there's a lot of different trades that you can do with Schmaltz. Schmaltz, and he's clearly a sell high. Another guy here is Alexi Protas, 6 points in 6 games. Listen, maybe I'm wrong about Protas because when I watch him play, this guy looks electric. Maybe he's going to be having a similar year to last year where he's just an even strength beast. And now he's actually getting power play 2 time. He's getting more power play time than last year. He barely got any last season. So listen, there are some potential upside cases for Protas, but I just think it's pretty hard to be a point per game player without power play 1 time. There's not a lot of guys that can do it. Hagel's one of them. Protas was obviously one of the best last year, but if you can get a good deal trading Protas away for a guy that has a solidified role in power play 1, I think that would be best. There's also more guys here in the top points here. Ivan Barbashev, 6 points in 6 games. I think he's solid, but I don't think he's going to be a point per game player. So maybe you can make something work. Frank Nazar, this is a pretty obvious one as well. He's a point per game player. I'm sure people drop some really good players for Nazar just because he's been so good, but we have to recognize that he's still in the Blackhawks. He's still very young. I think he could put up 60 points this year. Maybe a room for more, maybe 65, but there's also a chance he could put up 55 points. So yeah, I just think if you can sell high in him, the people that are drinking the Kool-Aid, you're probably going to get a deal that will help you in the long run. Also, Leo Carlsson, I think he has looked really good out there. I love the shot volume, but we do have to recognize that he has 3 power play points in 4 games. He has 6 points in 4 games as well. I think there's a chance he could be a 60 to 70 point player, but I don't think he's going to eclipse that. So you can sell high to a casual league mate who thinks that he is going to have an insane year. I definitely would. I'll quickly mention some more players. I'm not sure the value that you're going to get from these guys because, unless you're playing with casual league mates, you're probably not getting much value. But, Beckett Seneke, he's a point per game. That's not going to be sustainable. Shane Wright, the deployment's not there. Nino Niederreiter, the deployment's not there. Pavel Zacha, I think he's a good, solid pickup, but he's not going to be a 70 to 80 point player like he's pacing for. Jake Neighbor, same thing. The deployment's not there. Teuvo Teravainen, he's overperforming. Chris Kreider, potentially. I like Chris Kreider. I think he's a great pickup off the wire, but I do think he's overperforming just a little bit right now. Something to think about if you can get a good deal, like, Chris Kreider for a Nikolaj Ehlers or something like that. Zach Benson, obviously this is a great pickup, but maybe you can trade him to a casual league mate. I don't know, guys. He has 5 points in 2 games, so I had to include him as a sell high. Sean Couturier is overperforming. Emmett Finney, I get it, guys. He's like a rookie. His roster percentage is super low. So, yeah, maybe in those deeper leagues you can try. Dawson Mercer's overperforming. Probably not going to be power play 1 for very long. And again, they're switching things up constantly. And then Justin Brazeau. I don't think much needs to be said about him. I also want to mention one injury buy low, especially if you're in a league with hits. That guy being Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators. This is pretty obvious. If your league mate is struggling, maybe they don't like the look of their team and they want some immediate help, then you can trade for Brady Tkachuk and win in the long run. Usually with these injured players, you're going to be able to get a discount on them. So if you feel comfortable in the standings and what your team looks like right now, I would definitely consider it. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope that I helped you here to make some good trades and to capitalize on these overperformers and these underperformers. But make sure you like the video, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.